According to a bunch of secrets, Fortnite has plans for an Attack on Titan collab, and not only that, there has been a ton of secrets throughout the history of Fortnite in reference to movies and video games. Stuff like Easter eggs on the map, secrets inside of emotes, and a ton more. So today we're going to be going over 18 secrets and Easter eggs in Fortnite that reference movies and video games. Like starting out with the first one here, back in Chapter 3, we got to see the reality tree spread its roots around the map. In doing so, it changed a bunch of locations into completely different variants. Now, one of these locations was Logjam Lotus, and inside of that location could be found a pretty rundown looking boat. Now, players quickly realized that this is actually a reference to the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, where Jack Sparrow is first seen sailing a very rickety looking boat. And gotta say, it looks even rougher in Fortnite. But then taking a jump back all the way to the first chapter of Fortnite, in fact, the very first Battle Pass, Fortnite started off strong with a reference to Marvel. That's right, the Rust Lord skin very clearly was inspired by Peter Quill from the Guardians of the Galaxy universe. And honestly, it's pretty funny that this was the precursor to an official Star-Lord skin, but personally, Rust Lord still holds a special place in my heart. Now then in Chapter 2, we started to see the introduction of different animals, one of which being the shark, which can still be found on the map to this day. However, back in Season 3 of Chapter 2, if you dealt 1966 damage to a loot shark, you got a special achievement called Shark Repellent. Now this is a reference to the Batman series. Back in 1966, a Batman movie was released that had an iconic scene of Batman using shark repellent. Not even sure what that means, but many years later, it was referenced in Fortnite. Now back in Chapter 1, Season 9 of Fortnite, we got to see a pretty intriguing collab come into the item shop, and that was John Wick. Now to commemorate this event, they also added a secret house onto the map inside of Paradise Palms that was pretty much an exact replica of John Wick's house in the movies. It even contained his same secret stash of weapons in the basement, hidden underneath the concrete. But also speaking of Season 9, inside of that Battle Pass, there was a specific loading screen that was added that didn't reference any of the skins inside of the Battle Pass. Instead, it had the Rex skin. But what's even more interesting is that this is a recreation of a scene from Jurassic Park. When the raptors are going into the kitchen to chase down one of the main characters, you can see that this loading screen replicates that scene pretty much as best as they could. But then fast forwarding to Chapter 2 of Fortnite again, we got to see a bunch of new locations on the map, with one of which being this brand new house on the west side. Now, if you went out to the back of this house, you could find a red car that crashed out of the back of the house into the ground. This was an Easter egg nodding towards the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where they crashed a car through the back of the house in a very similar fashion to what went down right here. Now then moving on, Fortnite has had a ton of collaborations since then. One of the sort of more recent ones is Lara Croft, which also included a ton of different styles with a bonus style, making for an all gold variant of the skin, something we've pretty much never seen with other collaborations. Now the reason they did this is that back in the Tomb Raider game on PS1, there was a room that held Midas's treasure, and if you happen to climb on top of this specific hand, it would turn Lara Croft completely golden. The scene was even recreated in the anniversary of Tomb Raider and more closely resembles what we got inside of Fortnite. And right before we hop into the next secret, comment down below if you know the name of this skin. On last video, the skin challenge was the Cube Queen. Here's a ton of people that got that right. So again, comment the name of this skin if you know it. Now we all know about the Stranger Things collab that was originally added back in Season X of Chapter 1, including the upside down portals. But one thing that a lot of people may have forgotten about is that they also added the ice cream parlor from the series. Yeah, the Scoops Ahoy ice cream parlor was added into Mega Mall and even included special ice cream cones that would heal the player when consumed. And then going from one of the coolest collabs to one of the honestly kind of underwhelming was one of their first ever collaborations. It happened all the way back in Season 6 of the very first chapter and was a collab with Wreck-It Ralph. On the map at Risky Reels, you could occasionally see Wreck-It Ralph himself show up on the screen, and that was pretty much it. Now granted, we did eventually get a free emote, but the stuff on the map wasn't anything too crazy. And speaking of emotes, one of the more rare emotes in the game is Groove Jam. This was released all the way back in Season 4 of Chapter 1 and could only be obtained from the Battle Pass. Now what's so interesting about it is that the dance is directly inspired by the movie Napoleon Dynamite, where he does the same exact moves. Now personally, this is one of my favorite movies, so it was a really cool hint to see. But jumping back into the map secrets, there has been a secret on the map since the very beginning of the game. That's right, throughout the history of Fortnite, one specific prop can almost always be found, and that is these outhouses. Now at first they don't look like anything too special, right? But they seem to be a direct reference to the outhouse scene in the very first Shrek movie. Now, granted, the crescent moon is flipped, but it's very clearly similar. Imagine if we got a Shrek collab. That would be pretty wild. But one movie that we did get a collab for was Indiana Jones. He was the quote-unquote secret skin of the Chapter 3 Season 3 Battle Pass, but he was actually hinted at before that even happened. Yeah, on the map in the desert area could be found a refrigerator, which at first seems kind of random, but this was actually an Easter egg based off of the movie Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where Indiana Jones jumps into a fridge to survive a nuclear blast. Not sure if that would actually work, but hey, it makes for a cool Easter egg in Fortnite. And speaking of nuclear stuff, back on the Chapter 2 map, we had a location called Steamy Stacks, which was clearly based off of a nuclear power plant. Now, if you went inside of one of the buildings where the main nuclear reactor could be found, and then went up to the control room, you would find these pinks scattered along the control board. These were a hint towards this series, The Simpsons, where Homer Simpson works as a nuclear power plant operator, and his favorite snack on the job is pink donuts just like these. But that's not the only animated series we see referenced in Fortnite. We've recently had a ton of anime collabs, with this season having 2. The My Hero Academia collab, and also most recently, more skins for the Dragon Ball Z collab. And what's interesting is that these were hinted at in a survey that Fortnite put out way before they actually released in the game. And another title on that list was Attack on Titan. Now, if we take a look at the current map, a lot of the buildings actually look very similar to buildings that you would see in the Attack on Titan series. So is this actually a reference towards the next collab inside of Fortnite? I mean, Attack on Titan has collabed with other games like Call of Duty, so it seems incredibly likely. But if we keep on moving here, let's talk about a specific glider, the paper airplane, which at first seems like kind of a random one to choose, right? But if you take a look at the details that are written on it, you will see that one part says, "My name is Jeff." This is a reference to the famous line in 22 Jump Street where he says exactly that. But it's funny that it was hidden on such a random glider that was released pretty early in the game. Now, one of the most mysterious references could be found back at Steamy Stacks. If you went into the downstairs of one of the rooms and broke down a wall, you would find a secret room containing a mysterious object in the corner. Now, it was eventually found out that this was an Easter egg for the upcoming movie Tenet at the time, but the object itself, I'm not sure how it actually connects to the movie. The part that was actually made as a connection is the sound that could be heard when you got close to the object, which was the exact same as in the Tenet trailer. But then something that was less of a teaser and more of just a straight up Easter egg was last chapter, you could find a beach where the child of the Rock family was building a sandcastle. However, if you compared this to Helm's Deep from the Lord of the Rings universe, you can see some pretty striking similarities. So yeah, it turns out it was an Easter egg, but so far we haven't seen a Lord of the Rings collab. So maybe in the future, I'm not sure. Now, another Easter egg that never became a collab despite how much people were talking about it was the It Easter egg back in Chapter 1. Around the map, there started to appear some red balloons. Now, when players went and broke these balloons, they made a sound of a clown laughing. Now, this was obviously a teaser for the new It movie that was releasing at that time, but it never actually led to skins being added to the game as much as people wanted it to. Still though, it made for a pretty cool secret. So yeah, guys, there you have it. That is 18 collab Easter eggs inside of Fortnite. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe and also check out my previous videos on the screen right here, such as going over the return of Midas. But again, hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.